Hey, what's up, y'all? Um, we're gonna record this video. I've had a request, honestly, to do so. Um, this video is gonna be about tuning cars and specifically how I tune cars and how I like my cars to be tuned specifically. I know there's a lot of videos out there about tuning cars, but every person tunes cars differently, and maybe this will give y'all an insight of how I do it. So maybe, hopefully, everybody can have an understanding of how, not specifically just how I tune cars, but also specifically um, on the subject of the way you should tune your car um, for drag racing, for racing in general, and so on and etc. Um, so with that being said, let's get into it. All right, so I guess the first thing we're going to discuss is tuning cars for racing. Uh, so we'll jump to a completely stock car real quick. See if I can find one here. I don't really want to use the Camaro. We'll use let's use a C5 Corvette Z06. This car is completely stock. I have not done anything to this car. So we're going to tune this car to be kind of a mixture between short track and kind of long track racing. If y'all don't know, I come from playing Gran Turismo, so that's why I'm using the term short track, long track. Short track being tracks that are like 3 laps or more, and they're really small, like less than 2 mile tracks. If not maybe 2 or 3 miles. That would be considered like a short track to me. Long track would be like something like the Goliath race, the Colossus or something like that, pertain to Forza. But anyway, it's a custom upgrade. As you know, the car's completely stock, so the first thing we're going to do is upgrade our suspension and brake components and whatnot. We're going to go with, of course, the racing brakes. We'll go with the racing springs and dampeners. I'm going to put, of course, the fully adjustable anti-roll bars or sway bars, if you really want to. That's what they're really called, is sway bars. A lot of mechanics will call it any type of different thing, but they're sway bars. Is really the term for it. I mean, you can call them anti-roll bars, but they're technically called sway bars. Stiffen up the frame a little bit. We don't want to put a full roll cage on here because this is not going to be a full-blown race car. This is going to be a car that's capable of doing multiple things while keeping the weight at a pretty bare minimum. You can see that when I use the full roll cage, it adds weight to it. So we're going to go with this one. We're also going to lighten up the car. We're going to take the audio system, all that good stuff out. This will drop the car into 3,000 pounds. Let's see. Let's go with some more tires. We'll use the semi-slick race tire compound. Line that back tire up just a hair again. Yeah, we'll just do that one. Widen them out. Okay. Put some rims on here, why not? Put some really light wheels on this guy. go with these ones. Takes off about 12 pounds. Let's move to transmission. Of course, you want a better clutch, wider drive shaft. And I put a race dip on it. Go with the race transmission. I mean, you can see that it says it brings down. It doesn't lose any weight. It's kind of confusing to me how it says we lose handling, acceleration, and launch. But, you know, I don't understand why the game's doing that. I mean, its transmission doesn't weigh more or less than the original when it's in it. So, you know, the thing about it is we do want to adjust the transmission fully, so we're going to have to do that. Personally, in my preference, I really don't care for this one specific wing. I kind of wish Forza would put in, you know, more than just this addition of the wing or spoiler per se. The purpose of these are to put downforce on the rear of your car, so I mean we need it for it to be a race car build. I ain't going to do no conversions. It's not needed. This is not going to be an all-wheel drive car. This is specifically tuned, or this is going to be a specific tune for a rear-wheel drive race car build. It's not like going for max speed. We're going for a good handling and driving, good accelerating race car that's capable of doing short and medium track races. Not long track specifically. It could probably do it, but we're going to stick with, you know, the medium and short track race build. Going to install a setup. So that way, we have that done. The car still has 405 horsepower. I did forget to change any modifications with the horsepower, so we're going to go back to it. First, we're going to put the air intake on. Do the intake manifold. Better fuel injection. We're going to do the ignition timing. Of course, we're going to put a race exhaust. We're going to cam the engine out. Put some better valves and valve springs. And piston and rods. All race piston rods. Now, of course, it ups the compression. When you change your piston rod setup, it can up the compression on the car, which in turn brings up the torque and power, and also lightens the vehicle up a little bit. And right now the car is sitting at 649 horsepower. That's pretty good. I think it's not too bad. I'm going to keep upping it a little bit. You know what? We might just slap a supercharger on this just to give it a little more. What supercharger I want to use, I don't know yet. I think we'll go with the twin screw. Let's see. It's not really at the power one yet. We're pushing 699. I kind of want to have over 700. So let's see. Do 737, and then we'll up in the displacement a little bit. I think we'll go with 748. I don't want it to be over 750 horsepower, but 653 foot-pounds of torque should be plenty enough to get this car moving. Like a flywheel on here. Looks good to me. Let's get with that. So then we're going to go to custom tuning. I kind of feel as if this tire pressure is a little too high. So I'm going to down it to 30 on the front. I'm going to go to 28 in the rear. Yeah, so that way the car has a little bit more grip on the rear tires. The final drive is a little too high, so we're going to go bring that back down. We're going to put it, I don't know, we're going to put a 353 final drive. We're going to merge this first gear up a little higher here, so we have a little bit more. Basically, we're going to merge all the gears over just a hair. I don't want them too much, just enough to change the ratio a little bit, because you don't want it to overpower the torque of the car's engine here. Because, you know, if you make your gear ratios too high, without enough sufficient amount of torque, your engine's not going to be able to power through the gears. About 200 mile an hour is good enough. We'll drop that down just here. About, I want to reach about 200. So we're going to adjust that accordingly. That should be good right there. Since now the 6th and 5th gear are pretty close to each other. As you can see, I leave the gears fairly close. The first gear is going to wind out a little bit, and as with your second gear. But when you get into 3, 4, 5, and 6, they're going to be close together to keep the car. The reason why I'm doing this is to keep the car in its power band, and this is what I'm kind of shooting for. You always want to keep the first and second gear is going to be kind of like using. It's going to be how can I say this? It's going to be utilizing the torque of the engine, and the rest of them are going to be in the horsepower range. So that way, once you're up to speed, the car can keep accelerating at a fairly reasonable rate. I'm going to adjust our camber down a little bit, because we want a little bit of acceleration out of the back wheels. I think 5 on that one should be alright. I'm going to leave the front caster, we'll probably leave that stock to see how that does. The anti-roll bars are a little stiff, we're going to drop them down just a hair. Just a little bit. Notice I kind of keep everything fairly close, even. Then the front suspension's a little stiff, so we're going to drop the springs down just a little bit. I'll put that at 740 pounds. And drop this down to 640. Ride height, I think that's fine where it's at. Soften up these shocks a little bit. Put that about a 9. Put this one at about a 6. Now the reason why I'm doing this is because all the weight of this car is technically in the front of the car. Because of the engine and everything. You got your engine, your transmission, all that towards the front of the car, so you kind of want to keep your front a little bit stiffer than you do the rear, because you don't have as much weight in the rear of the car as you do the front, especially with a front-wheel drive. Excuse me, a rear-wheel drive car. Front-wheel drive is the same way though, all your weight's in the front, so keep that in mind. Bump stiffness, we'll just lower it just a little bit. Put that at 5.8. Now, I'll move on to aero. Oops, wrong button. The aero, I'm going to raise it up just a hair, because we want the car to stick to the ground at higher speeds. This ain't, now again, this is not meant to be a drag race car. This is not meant to be an extremely fast car on top speed. This is meant to handle well and get up to 200 mile an hour. That's what we tuned it for, about 200 mile an hour. Right now it's sitting at 198.7. So I'm gonna put that about right there. And as you can see, as you adjust the aero, it does take away your top speed, but that's fine. I'm fine with that. This car is not meant to be on a long track that has high speeds. Now this is meant for shorter track races. On good little straightaways on a short track, this will be 198 mile an hour is plenty enough. The brakes, we're going to add the brake pressure up just a hair, put it at 113. We're going to keep it at a 50-50 so that way it stops the car efficiently. Rear differential. Alright, so this is where things get interesting. We're going to have this car with a limited slip, which means it's only going to lock up 75% of the rear diff. Okay, and then we're going to keep it at 43 and see how that works. If we need to make adjustments later, we can make adjustments later on after we get a feel for the car. That being said, let's apply these settings and let's see how this car drives. Now keep in mind, I do use a manual transmission. I don't like using automatic, but it's because it just makes me feel like I have less control of the car. You can hang in gears longer with a manual. Keep that in mind. Especially when you're going in and out of turns, you don't want it to be downshifting and causing you to spin out. That's why I like using manual. If you're not used to it, I suggest you give it a try, because it really does help you in races. You get to choose what gear you want to be in, and you can hang into gears longer for in and out of turns without it downshifting automatically, which also sometimes will cause you to spin out. Now, keep in mind that two of my cars with these difficulty settings on, I never use traction control, stability. I do use anti-lock brakes because, that's a need. If you don't use these, what's it's going to do is lock up your brakes and you're going to have that smoke coming off your tires because your tires are completely locked up. It causes your car to hydroplane, like it's on water. That's what hydroplaning is. Now, I don't know what the term is for your brakes locking. It just locks up and it causes a bunch of smoke and it causes your tires to heat up excessively. Now, in this game, the tire heat is pretty realistic. If you heat up your tires too much, you'll lose traction. But if you have just the right amount of heat in your tires, it will keep grip. So keep that in mind. Anti-lock brakes is your friend. I do have a driving line for when I'm in races. If I don't know if I don't know the track that well, I mainly use it for braking. But if I don't know the track specifically by heart, then I keep the driving line on. I can drive without a driving line. It's just that it helps. I never use rewind. I feel like that's kind of for sissies. If I get beat, I get beat. You know what I mean? It's just part of the game. And I don't use launch control. I don't really feel like it's effective, really. I don't know. You can't control how much RPM you get when you're ever using launch control. Only like revs it up to like 1500, 2000 or something like that. Sometimes I like to rev my cars up a little higher than that, especially for drag racing. But we'll get into more of that later. So now we know how my setup is. With the difficulty settings, let's get into this. I don't really like driving in this view because you can't see in front of the car that well, and I find this view being very distracting because I catch myself looking at my car. So bear with me, guys. I am going to be using the hood view, which does give you limited view, but you can see specifically in the front of the car and where the front of the car lands. And this is what makes me a better driver in the game when it comes to driving in free roam. I do have a video on that. first part 1 video is not that great, but the second one I'm about to release is better, so check that out. She stops good. Holding up pretty good. It's only because it's raining in the game.
You have arrived at your destination.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back into it. I had a little hard time stopping during the rain. Adjust our brakes a little bit. Let's push them. Now, even though it says rear, this is actually tuning it to the front. So keep that in mind. Your rear technically is your front, and your front is technically your rear. So keep that in mind. Let's see how this does. Traction a little bit left, you know. All said track is technically low. So my tune is called the track. The one thing glitched out the shit in my rear for me. That's kind of odd. Alright, so far I think that car handles pretty good. I could have made it through that turn, by the way, that little S turn there. I could have made it through that. I just chose to stop right here, um, say a few things. This car is doing pretty good, man. I think the only thing that could be done is maybe I can adjust my, you know what, I can adjust the final drive up a little bit. Let's bring it up to 363. Now, again, this is probably going to drop my top speed of this a little bit. I don't know if it did or not, I didn't pay attention, but it feels like to me I need to change my final drive gear. So we're going to roll with that and see how it does on top end and 6 gear round. I kind of feel like top end 6 gear is kind of weak, so we're going to bring it back just a hair. Start back over again.
have arrived at your destination.
So I tried pushing it through that corner a little hard. See how I did. It kind of slid off the road a little bit. I think maybe I adjusted the tire pressure in the rear just a hair. So maybe we could give ourselves a little more camber in the rear. Let's try that and see how it goes. Feels a little bit better. A little bit better mounting.
You have arrived at your destination.
AI car got straight in my way, man. I don't know. I feel like this car did pretty good. You know, it's probably not the most perfect car out there right now. you know, this is basically like a rough draft of how I tune my cars. You know, I tune them, I check them out, I drive them around in free roam, and I make adjustments as I go. So uh, there will be some more further adjustments with this car later on down the line. But as of right now, I think it's pretty good, just for racing. You know, it feels good to me. Um, it could be a little bit better on the braking department, but you know, overall it's pretty good. Um, you don't need to go extremely fast in a race. Uh, the main goal of a race is to stay on the track and go through your checkpoints in this game, without going off the track. Uh, you know, with that being said, you know, as long as you're mindful of your brake and your throttle, this car actually handles pretty well. Well, with that said, let's move on to the next subject, drag racing. So, um, drag racing. So, let's head to the festival where the drag strip is. First off, I'm going to change my car. Now, I'm not going to release the tune for these cars. I'm showing y'all, giving y'all an example of how my drag cars drive. Um, so, I got two of them set up here. The Copo Camaro with a 4-speed. It weighs about 2,975 pounds. It has 1,750 horsepower, 1,475 foot-pounds of torque. It's a 55% weight distribution, which means 5% more of the weight's in the back. Or, actually, I'm sorry, in the front. I don't know why I didn't see that, but it's in the front. So that means, you know, 5% extra of your weight is in the front. So it's going to be a little front heavy. This other car is the same way. It weighs a little bit more because I have a bigger transmission in it. But they perform pretty much almost the same, except for this one's faster. This car does about 279 on a flat surface, 280 downhill. This car is tuned for short track drag racing, basically at the festival. I rarely use this car. I should probably use it a little bit more, but it's got a 4-speed. So, for an example, I'm going to hop in this car. If y'all remember earlier, I said, you know, you want to tune your transmission to keep it in the power band. This transmission's tuned to jump from the torque power band to the horsepower power band. It's basically tuned to jump from the torque all the way down through the RPMs into the horsepower power band. The other one's kind of tuned the same, but it's got more gears and it's more meant to accelerate really fast. As for this one is too, but off the line, I think this one may start off faster than the other one. So let's go ahead and check her out. Ain't over in a while. Go ahead and jump to the famous drag strip now. And yes, I still pay for fast travel. Really careful. Get all the rewards that much right now. It's not a big problem for me. That's something I'll do later on in the game. As you guys can see, this car does have the 4-speed. No other gears. So, a good little example. Does have the drag race tires. This car does not do wheelies. Now, I'm going to explain something. Just because your car does a wheelie doesn't mean it's fast. When you pull your car into a wheelie, there's a loss amount of momentum in your car because all the weight's getting lifted up in the air. The car's going to want to take off slower than it would if it's all wheels on the ground. This car is tuned stay on the ground. So let's check that out. I did a 233 on that run. That's pretty fast, man. I mean, not too many cars can hit 233 from that point to that point. It's really hard to get one to do it. I haven't seen too many be able to do it. I've been beaten in this car, but it's kind of rare that it happens. It actually looks like I got something waiting on me down there now. So let's give a little example of how this car does against another opponent. Not even worthy of drag race, man. He's in the Acura. I thought he was sitting here waiting. Let's get another run so y'all can see exactly how this goes. We'll rev the car up just to the highest torque power band right before it gets to horsepower. Was a little slower. I shifted a little late on that one. Alright, I think if I would have shifted sooner, it would have hit the torque power band and moved the car a little bit further. But nonetheless, 232, that's not bad. Does have a stiffer suspension. The front's a little loose, but that's I only use the front to do that is for weight transfer. I want the car to transfer weight to the rear wheels. So that's why you can see the front's a little loose, but my rear's stiff. Now, to give you an example, let's hop into the other car. As y'all can see, the front and rear is this way. But my ride height's not all the way down. It's a little bit low, but not that much. I want all that weight transfer in this car. That's how I tune it. I tune both of these cars for two different reasons. This one's more of a highway pool car. The other one's more of a drag race car. This car will pull wheelies when taken off. It's fairly quick. The reason being is because it's just the way I got the suspension tuned and my tire pressure. Tire pressure means a lot. Typically in drag racing you want to have lower tire pressures, like around maybe 17.5 pounds to 22.5, maybe 24, depending on your car's weight. All that stuff, it all has to play with that. So, this car though, I like to normally warm up the tires just a little bit. It will not do a burnout the first thing. I have to put it in reverse. Just a little bit, that's all we need, not a lot. Go up. Typically there'll be other people here lined up next to me. Not, so this is perfect. I get to do this how I want to and explain what's going on. Right now I'm holding my handbrake button, A for Xbox. If you're on the PC, I don't know what the handbrake is for that. But, anyway, you hold your handbrake, you get the car sufficient amount of RPM. Now, for some somewhere between 4 and 5,000 is where I got this thing at. I kind of let it jump past 5,000 RPM initially, but between the torque power. Did miss from first to second. As y'all can see, this car does get to a line a little bit slower, but I did miss my first to second gear. I wouldn't say miss, but I over-revved it. You know, I hit the rev button. We'll consider that a miss. So we're going to try again. We're going to, again, once again, about 4 and 5,000 RPM. We're going to launch it. Car does both, best of both worlds. It will stay on the ground. It won't always pull a wheelie. There's two ways I launch this car. The first one is I'll start off in first gear. Sometimes I don't do it, but I'll start off in first gear. And I launch it like that. Or start off in second gear. Keep this in mind, you don't always have to start off in first gear. This is why I like manual, because you can select your gears. Start off in second gear, but this time I'll rev it up about 6,000 RPM. Launch it. This car is tuned to be able to do it all in drag racing. It has top speed, it has really good launch, give or take however you launch it, first or second gear. And you know, sometimes if I want to, I can make it look cool, man. When I take off, I can do wheelies. Looks like a guy wants to race me. Yeah, he's about to change his car. He thinks he's got something. This is going to be prime example of tuning right here. Watch, all about this witness this right here, right now. Oh, I thought he was going to change his car. Come on, man. You're really going to race me in an SUV, bud? I'm not even going to start off the second one. That's the definition of being gapped. I don't know what part of you thought that you was going to be able to beat this car, man. Started catching up to me. So, basically, really, any car can be tuned to be a drag race car. Yeah, so any car can be tuned to be a drag race car. So basically, I got another car here I can show you. The Dodge Dart Hemi Superstock. This is a very, very good car to have when you're just starting off in the game and you want to drag race some people. This car does beat a lot of cars. It weighs only 2,750 pounds. The way I got this one tuned is, you know, basically same concept. Weight transfer. It does have, let's see, I can't tell. It does look like it has drag tires, I think. So, you know, this car I did tune to be able to start off in second gear too. Actually, it's really the only way I do drag race this car is starting off in second gear. Because if I do first gear, it just kind of burns out too much. So, start it off in second. As you can see, I mean, this car is not really no slouch, man. It gets up and moves. And all my gears was in the power band. You gotta keep that in mind when you're tuning your transmission. Keep the car's gears in the power band. You know, and it's generally somewhere between, with this engine setup, and if y'all know what this engine is, it's the 7.7 liter TVR Speed 12 V12. So keep that in mind. That's what engine this is. This car generally likes to be between 6,800 and 8,500 RPMs. So and she does wheelies. Real fun car. It will take off in first gear. You gotta shift against it, which I have it tuned for that. Do a little first gear tool. Still ends up being the same. That's kind of why I started off in second. Tire warm up. Try another one. Watch my gear shifts, man. Now, I shift my gears really quick as soon as it hits red line. If not, maybe just a hair out. We got one wanting to get beat. So if you guys like the tune of this car, I will be sharing this tune. So that being said, let's hop into that. This is a tune I will release, just to show y'all I ain't lying. I'm gonna go to upgrades and tuning, my tune set up, setup manager. We're going to save this tune. We're going to name it. It's going to be under my Forza save file. Off the line. We're going to do close ratio shifting, and the description will be dart drag hashtag 1. So if y'all are looking for this tune, look for that right there. Dart drag hashtag 1. Alright, so I'm going to hop out of this real quick. Alright, I'm going to change my car back to the Copo, the black one, be Pacific. Alright, I won't share the one with my white and blue stripes. The white and blue Copo Camaro, but you know what? Since I've got so many requests on drag tunes, I will release this drag tune for this car. So we're gonna go back in here. I'm gonna go to upgrades and tuning. I don't remember if I did share this or not. I don't think I did. My tuning setup. Nope, I haven't. As y'all can see, I got this thing set to 16 psi in the rear. I ain't gonna show y'all no more than that, but I'm gonna go to setup manager. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it on my Forza. The game's taking forever to save. It's gonna be off the line. It'll be this. I'll put this as good for speed, I guess. Now this is going to be Copo hashtag 1. So if y'all want the tune for this car right here, Copo hashtag 1. Now, see that right there, Copo hashtag 1. Now, if y'all want me to release the tune for the white and blue striped Copo Camaro, like and comment and subscribe to my channel. I need at least 1,000 subscribers, and I will release my tune for my H5 Venom and the Copo Camaro, the white and blue one. This is just a test car. It's pretty good. It does beat a lot of other people. If y'all like it, man, use the tune. Subscribe to my channel. Like this video. And I will release the tune for the F5 Venom